Hudson County View live at Uncut. I'm your host, the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, John R. Heinis, and we're going to talk the latest and greatest at Hudson County News as we do every week. So, obviously, there's a lot going on post-election, but first we're going to talk about Carmelo Garcia, the former Hoboken Assemblyman, pleaded not guilty to a 31-count indictment, charging him in a massive bribery scheme based out of Newark. So we're going to tell you the details about that. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the Jersey City Ward C runoff election. We, of course, have Councilman Rich Baggiato looking to defend his seat against Kevin Big, upstart challenger, who has some help from Ward E Councilman James Solomon. So we're going to tell you what's going on there. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the Mile Square City. They're talking about giving their elected officials and directors some raises. So we're going to tell you what's going on with that. And we're also going to talk a little bit about what is going on at City Hall. A lot of people want to see the Hoboken City Hall reopened fully to pre-pandemic levels. So we're going to talk about that and much more right after we hear a word from our sponsors.
Good Friend Self-Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self-Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunnelly Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunnelly Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net. Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Hudson County View live at Uncut. John R. Heinis. Let's talk about what's going on with the Hoboken Board of Education. So we just found out a couple hours ago, I guess we'd say a day and a half ago to be specific, that the Hoboken Board of Education wants to have a new high school, and there's going to be a school referendum on January 25th. So let's look at this email blast that the Board of Ed sent out late Tuesday night. As has been widely discussed, district enrollment is on the rise. Since 2015, enrollment has grown while our facilities, many of them built before 1910, have remained static. With enrollment increases in the general age of the district's existing buildings, long-range facilities planning has been a top priority. It goes on to say, we are thrilled to present to the community a facilities project, including a new high school that will meet the needs of our growing population, our academic programs, and will provide recreation space that the entire community will be able to enjoy. We're extremely proud that this project reflects our wider goal of bridging our school community to the broader Hoboken community. So, obviously the question is, where is it going to be built and how much is it going to be costing taxpayers? And frankly, we just don't know the answer to that yet. All we know right now is, again, the referendum will be January 25th, 2022, and also that the planning board will hear this project in early December. So, probably the next 2 weeks or so. And that's really about it, though. I mean, the costs are, projected to be in the $200 million range, but nobody's saying that formally yet, so we're just going to have to keep our eye on it. You might remember that back in December 2018, the North Bergen Board of Education successfully passed a referendum to bolster their high school as well. So that's basically all we have there. I mean, the current high school is at 800 Clinton Street, and this was built in 1962, and the district had just over 2,200 students enrolled as of October 2020, numbers from the New Jersey Department of Education. So moving on, let's talk a little bit about what's happening in Jersey City Ward C, as I said at the top of the program. So something that I thought was a little interesting is we see Ward E Councilman James Solomon ready to fundraise for Kevin Big. So he sent out an email blast to a select list that said, thank you all so much for your support to re-elect me in the City Council of Jersey City. I'm eager to get back to work to push Jersey City to build a livable and equitable city, and that work will be much more fruitful if I'm joined on the council by my friend Kevin Big. As you may know, Kevin is running to represent Ward C, and he faces a runoff election on December 7th. Kevin's running a similar campaign as I did, proudly progressive and independent for the political establishment and real estate developers. So, as I said, and as I'm sure you all know, Kevin is trying to unseat Rich Baggiato, two-term incumbent. He won as an independent in 2013, again as an independent in 2017. He ran with Mayor Fulop in November. He got about 44% of the vote. Big got about 30%, Tom Zupa about 26%, and that brings us to the December 7th runoff. As you know, that if nobody hits 50% in the general, then we got to do it again in November, and so that's where we're at. And as I'm sure everybody watching knows, Solomon won by a pretty strong margin, 69-31 roughly, against Chief Municipal Prosecutor Jake Hudnut. So there's no runoff for him this time. Of course, he was elected in 2017, December runoff, winning against Rebecca Symes. But now he's just waiting and watching, and he's obviously going to be lending some of his political capabilities to Kevin Big here. So, you know, him and Frank Educational Gilmore, as you guys saw and heard last week, were the only real upsets in this election cycle. And right now, Mayor Stephen Fulop enjoys a nice 6-2 majority, and it's going to come down to this runoff. So we also saw on the page that this is going to be a proof of vaccination and indoor masking required event, and it's going to be at a private residence on Saturday. So, and the ticket prices also start at $100. So with that said, you know, this is an interesting race, right? Because we've heard a lot from the incumbent about how this is going to be a referendum on parking versus bike lanes. So that's obviously a perspective that some people share, and of course some people don't. You know, there's been a lot of comments on Facebook and Twitter on this, and I'm sure it will continue well into December 7th. So while we're talking about this, let's see what Rich Baggiato had to say. He said, Kevin Big knows that his plans will remove hundreds of parking spots from our neighborhoods, but now he's in the runoff. He's too scared to admit it. Everyone knows where I stand. I've always been against trading parking for bike lanes, and I always will be. Instead of making false attacks on my character, Kevin should answer these very simple, policy-based questions and come clean about his war on cars policy agenda. So pretty strong words from the incumbent, if you ask me. And, you know, he was able to answer, and he said, it seems clear that Councilperson Baggiato wishes to brand himself as a single-issue candidate, obsessing over parking, and is ready to tell voters that he's willing to maintain the status quo, even if it comes at the cost of street safety. It's impossible for me to respond to Baggiato's bogus claims because he cites no source on how adding bike lanes on Baldwin Avenue would remove parking spaces. And as you recall, last week the councilman said that this bike lane plan, something that is very similar to what Mayor Fulop presented about a year ago, would eliminate about 70 parking spaces. So that's the context on that statement. And, you know, he continued that our platform isn't exclusively based on adding bike lanes, but rather reimagining our streets so that our seniors, children, and others aren't killed and maimed because of the unsafe traffic design. And he cites the New Jersey State Police, who said that 22 people have died on Hudson County roads due to fatal crashes this year. So with that in mind, he also would like to see a debate. But it doesn't look like the incumbent is interested in doing that. I mean, obviously, runoff debates are not common. But the response there was simply that, well, let me take it from Phil Sabinsky, the Baggiato campaign spokesman. He said, Kevin Big is a typical politician who won't even answer simple questions about his plan to eliminate hundreds of parking spaces. So until he's willing to be upfront about his plan to trade parking spaces for bike lanes, Councilman Baggiato is going to remain focused on serving his constituents and meeting voters where they are. We're going to take a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
Ford made their first all-electric SUV a Mustang. Rapid acceleration, reactive handling, 300-mile range. You control how it feels and how it sounds. It knows you. It dials into your preferred settings. It has an array of driver assist technology. Cameras and sensors enhance your awareness and provide you with additional control. But it's more than cutting-edge technology. It's the spirit of it. It's a Mustang.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in one of our many high-rise towers. With amenities such as the on-site Newport Path, light rail, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams and Acme Supermarket are just outside your front door. A health and fitness center, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. Enjoy the New York skyline from our waterfront and various parks. Manhattan is just one pass stop away, or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Looking to visit? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. For more information, visit us at newportnj.com. Make lasting memories to cherish forever. It's incredible. It's you, Newport. Live like you want.
Hudson County View live at Uncut. John R. Heinis. So we're also going to talk about what happened in relation to the Jersey City kosher shooting on December 10th of 2019. Now, of course, you guys all know that this was a domestic terrorism incident per the New Jersey Attorney General at the time, Gubier Graywall. And now we actually just found out that a grand jury was impaneled on this, and they were looking at the potential of charging 12 Jersey City police officers and one Newark police officer. Of course, there was a tremendous law enforcement response to this. And, you know, not surprisingly, for those of you that have been following along, there will be no charges issued. The grand jury said that they don't see any reason to. The reason they were looking at this is, of course, it was a fatal incident. You know, there were 4 innocent lives claims, including one of police detective Joseph Seals. And eventually, the shooters ended up getting gunned down by the police, and that's why they were looking at this. But again, for those of you that have been following closely, it's not surprising that there aren't any charges here. So let me just sum up what the Attorney General's saying. So obviously, the shooters were David Anderson and Francine Graham. They were fatally shot by police. I just mentioned Detective Seals was one of the innocent killed, as well as Mindy Ferenz, Douglas Miguel Rodriguez Barzola, and Moshe Douche. And that was a supermarket. That was about a 3-hour firefight, again, December 10th, 2019, right? So the fatal police encounter was investigated by the Office of Public Integrity and Accountability. It was presented to 16 to 23 New Jersey residents called to serve on a grand jury in accordance with Directive 2019-4, which is the Independent Prosecutor Directive, and that was issued back in 2019, again, under Attorney General Gubier Graywall. So in July 2021, OPIA issued standard operating procedures to ensure that these grand jury presentations are conducted in a neutral, objective manner and with appropriate transparency regarding the process consistent with the Independent Prosecutor Directive. So they had interviews of witnesses, collection of forensic evidence, review of video footage, and autopsy results from the medical examiner. So sounds like, you know, pretty comprehensive look of everything that happened that day. And after hearing testimony and evidence, the grand jury concluded deliberations on Monday, that was November 15th, and they voted no bill, meaning a majority of grand jurors found the actions of the officers were justified. Again, not surprising, because as you guys probably all recall at this point, according to the investigation, Anderson and Graham encountered Seals in the Bayview Cemetery in Jersey City, and they parked a white U-Haul van directly across the street from the JC Kosher Supermarket at 223 Martin Luther King Drive in Jersey City, and Graham was a passenger in the van. Within seconds of parking the van, Anderson exited the driver's side with a rifle in his hand. He walked towards the kosher supermarket and began shooting. So, you know, it's, again, pretty expected. You know, some people were surprised that this was even getting reviewed. But again, due to that prosecutor directive, anytime there's a fatal shooting, they're going to look at it. So those police officers involved that were cleared from the Jersey City Police Department, that's Carlos Castillo, George Lopez, Eric Tavares, Mark McKnight, Patrick Sullivan, John Boba, Stephen Gigante, James Greco, John Antman, Joseph Solomon, Edward Fernandez, Felix De Jesus, and the Newark police officer is Joseph Carrick. So, again, very expected result, really no surprise here for those of us that are aware of what happened with this anti-Semitic attack. So, let's move on. Well, let's talk a little Bayonne, right? So this race is not coming anytime, you know, imminently. You know, it's not going on until May of 2022, but we're already seeing a lot of shots fired. And the thing is, it isn't from a candidate; it's from a super PAC based out of Washington D.C. So this PAC is called Citizens Restricted Security Fund. And if you look them up on the Federal Election Commission website, they don't have any donations coming in, which is unusual. They don't have really any expenditures going out either. But they still obviously have money to start a website. They've done a couple video ads, and they had a billboard. So this, as you guys know, was the League of Municipalities this week, right? That's over in Atlantic City. And they took out a billboard right on the Atlantic City Expressway right after you pay the toll. and it says dirty streets, dirty behavior, dirty politics, had enough. Call Mayor Davis, and it has his office number 201-858-6010, and tell him to stop making Bayonne dirty. And their website, dirtydavis.com, as we spoke about previously. And I mean, there's really not a whole heck of a lot else to say there. You know, there's a gender discrimination suit, which is highlighted in the billboard, and that's filed by Business Administrator Melissa Matthews. And we're going to see what's going on there. You know, we saw a couple plaintiffs dismissed from the suit. That was Tim Boyle, Mark Bonomo, and Eduardo Ferrante, who's the OEM coordinator. But she has filed a motion to try to get them back in the suit. So look, this is going to be a long game for both parties, right? I mean, nobody's going to stand out on this anytime soon, certainly not before the election. So, and it looks like Sharon Nadrowski, the council president, is going to be the candidate, but nobody's announced anything yet. And obviously, we're fastly approaching the holiday season, so we're going to see. But the Peninsula City definitely looks like there's many hits to come in 2022. So certainly that's a place you want to keep your eye on. You know, we got some Mile Square City business to discuss, but I think we're going to hear one more break from our sponsors, so we'll be right back.
Panapinto Properties, Jersey City, shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces and addresses your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintodevelopment.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Introducing the all-new Ford Maverick. A truck for people who do stuff. And people who make stuff. People like Gabrielle Union.
I make this look good, don't I?
Who haul whatever they want to wherever they want. Like wood to build things made of wood with. And friends to get weird with. It's for long trips that the standard hybrid engine with a targeted EPA estimated city fuel economy rating of 40 miles per gallon helps with. That an 8-inch touchscreen connects with. And any trip that this interior makes more comfortable. But we'll let Gabrielle tell you all about it.
Or I could just tell them it's a Ford truck that starts at less than $20,000 MSRP.
Yep, that works too. The all-new Ford Maverick, built to defy expectations.
Hudson County View live at Uncut. John R. Heinis. Like I said, we're going to discuss some Mile Square City business. So let's talk about probably the most notable thing, I would say, in the past week when we're talking Hoboken. We're talking about former Assemblyman Carmelo Garcia. He was also a deputy mayor in Newark, and that's where this 31-count indictment stems from. But he pleaded not guilty to this bribery scheme that he's accused of by federal prosecutors back on November 3rd. So Garcia, 45, still lives in Hoboken, pleaded not guilty to a laundry list of charges during a November 3rd arraignment via a video teleconference with U.S. District Judge Edward Keel. And that's according to public records that you could access on the Pacer website. So the hearing was just 13 minutes long, started at 11:30, ended at 11:43. Not surprising. I mean, arraignments are usually pretty quick, and being virtual, you know, there's probably not a heck of a lot to talk about. But if you remember when this story came out last month, the U.S. Attorney's Office charged Garcia, along with Frank Valvano Jr., he's 52, Erwin Sablaski, he's 60, of Springfield, and they're co-owners of a New Jersey-based pawnbroker and jewelry business. And there's quite a bit here. They were charged with 1 count of conspiracy to defraud the city of Newark and the NCEDC of Garcia's honest services facilitated by the use of interstate wire transmission, 17 counts of honest services wire fraud, and 4 counts of use of interstate facilities to promote and facilitate bribery in violation of the Traffic Act. Garcia is additionally charged with 3 counts of receiving bribes in connection with the business of a federally funded local government and organization, and Valvano and Sablaski are additionally charged with 3 counts of offering those bribes, as HCV first reported. So again, this is a pretty sizable indictment. You know, this isn't just like your typical 2, 3, 4 count charges. This is, again, quite substantial, a few dozen here. So they're basically saying, to give you the long story short, that the former Hoboken Housing Authority executive director accepted high-end watches and jewelry from Valvano and Sablaski's business in exchange for using his official position and influence to advance real estate developments. So they have text messages and phone records related to the case, which they say implicate the 3 men in the various aforementioned crimes. And, they gave a number of instances of what they allege is egregious conduct. And For example, June 2018, Garcia, then Newark's acting deputy mayor and director of the city's Department of Economic and Housing Development, allegedly received an envelope containing $25,000 in cash supplied by Valvano through an intermediary in the restroom of a New Jersey restaurant. And if you read the complaint, there's quite a few other instances that are similar to that. And the honest services fraud conspiracy and honest services wire fraud charges each carry a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison, while the Travel Act charges each carry a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison. Additionally, the bribery concerning governments receiving federal funds charges each carry a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison, and all charges are punishable by a fine of $250,000 or twice the amount of the pensionary gain from the offense. So, there's quite a lot riding on this case. So we're going to keep you updated. We're going to let you know what happens with these future filings. So again, sticking with the Mile Square City, there was a council meeting on Monday to accommodate the league. And there were two fairly significant things, I believe. And the first one, which I don't think anyone could really argue is a pretty notable story, is that there's an ordinance that's going through right now that would actually increase salaries for the elected officials, including the mayor and city council, and as well as the directors and a handful of other municipal employees. So let me get to the specifics there. So the first reading of the ordinance would bump the mayor's salary from $116,950 to $130,000, though there's a caveat here, an important caveat, and that is that this will not take effect until the next mayor is elected. So not really sure why they're including it now, but I guess just for the sake of, just clarity and just for the sake of cleanness, I guess you could say, they're doing it as part of the whole bunch. I guess when you do a salary range, it's not uncommon to include everyone from top to bottom. So with that, you'd also see the council members get a decent raise. Their part-time salaries are $24,130. That would go up to $35,000. Not a bad increase there. And the council vice president would get $37,500, and the president, council president that is, would get $40,000. And if approved, those increases would take effect at the beginning of 2022. So the municipal directors right now, they're capped at $137,500. But if this goes through, and it already cleared on first reading, that would go up to $170,000. The business administrator is capped at $170,000 currently, but again, if this ordinance is approved, then it would go up to $199,000. So we heard from the city spokeswoman, that's Marilyn Baer, and she said the first reading amending salary ranges for certain employees does not guarantee anyone a raise, but rather just increase the range in one's salary. It was drafted to ensure the city remains competitive in attracting and retaining talented employees. Over the last few years, several high-caliber directors have left the employ of the city after receiving higher-paying job offers with similar titles elsewhere. So the examples that I noted is that former business administrator Stephen Marks left last year for the same post in his hometown of Kearney, and we know that former assistant business administrator Patrick Weary left to serve as the Waldwick business administrator in 2019. And we heard from Councilwoman Tiffany Fisher, of course, the second ward rep, and she said the city council has taken measures to reduce salary costs in the past. In 2020, the city council approved a 10% reduction in salaries for this same group of electeds and directors for all of 2020 as a way to contribute towards reducing the tax burden on residents at a time when we were facing unprecedented high tax increases. So she's calling this to be tabled, but that didn't happen. It passed 5-2 to 1. And her and Councilwoman Jen Giattino, the 6th Ward rep, voted no. Ruben Ramos abstained, and 1st Ward Councilman Mike DeFusco was not present. So we're going to take one more break. We'll be right back after these messages.
Not everyone celebrates the birth of a baby. You have options. Don't panic. New Jersey has safe havens for unwanted infants. Leave the baby with staff at any hospital, ER, police or fire station, or rescue squad. Call the number on your screen for safe haven locations or go to www.njsafehaven.org. No shame, no blame, no names. Safe Haven.
Hudson County View live at Uncut Chapter, Heinis. So one more note out of Hoboken. So let's talk about how some residents and council members feel about City Hall still being only open by appointment only. Now, this is not terribly uncommon, as I noted. Jersey City, appointment only, Bayonne, appointment only. However, there are some municipalities, for example, Union City, that are operating at pre-pandemic levels. It's wide open, everybody's there, you could just walk in. Their meetings are in person only, no stream even. So, we've seen both approaches, and Bayonne's kind of in between as well. While their City Hall is appointment only, you are able to attend their meetings in person again. The council does show up with the business administrator, the law director, etc. And there is a stream available still. But in Hoboken, it's Zoom only meeting and appointment only at City Hall, which is the same thing as Jersey City. So anyway, the point here is that there is a call for them to open to pre-pandemic levels. So Cheryl Fallick, who ran for council on the Independently Together slate in November 2nd, she brought up the question, are we ever going to get back to these in-person meetings? And, we heard from 3rd Ward Councilman Mike Russo, who was in favor, and we also heard from a few other council members that said that they would like to see this too, including Councilwomen Tiffany Fisher and Jen Giattino. So, and also, before we get to them, we heard from another resident, his name's Michael Summers, and he said that they had the wrong Zoom link up on the city website. So if you wanted to call in, dial into the meeting, you obviously weren't able to do so if you were doing it straight off the website. So that's another reason why they believe that this should be totally open. So Jen Giattino, who's of course the council vice president, she noted that I had a constituent call me who went to City Hall this past week to pay their taxes, and they could walk into City Hall and pay their taxes, which is kind of like the ultimate slap in the face. You're going to pay your taxes to the city of Hoboken. And, she basically joked that the security is practically ready to tackle you if you're ready to go in there. And there is a tax drop-off box, to be fair, and, you just put the envelope in the box. But, again, some members of the public, and again, some council members just feel like this hasn't been well communicated. So, with that said, Councilwoman Fisher added that we get complaints all the time saying it's hard to reach anyone by phone, it's hard to actually make the appointment, and so on and so forth. But we heard from Business Administrator Jason Freeman that City Hall is open. It's open by appointment only. At the end of the day, City Hall is an office building. There's 150 employees there every single day. Some are vaccinated, some are not. And we're trying our best to keep them safe and keep the residents safe. And, he continued that basically, we're not worried about what other municipalities are doing. We're doing what makes sense in the Mile Square City. And this isn't going to be forever, but this is just something that we got to work through as part of the pandemic, long story short. There was no formal action taken on this. So, I would expect this appointment only and the Zoom meetings to remain for the foreseeable future, though it should be noted that Council President Ruben Ramos said on December 1st he expects to be back in council chambers. So let's keep an eye on that. And there were two interesting crime stories, just extremely quickly. A peaceful surrender negotiated for a woman who threatened to harm Secaucus police with a knife. So that's great work, obviously, by the SWAT team and the Secaucus police. And there was also this incident where the Hudson County Schools of Technology bus crashed into the front of a North Bergen home. That's under investigation by the Hudson County Sheriff's Office. So with that, we're going to call it a week. Thanks, guys. Have a great Thanksgiving. We'll see you the week after that.